Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to my show, High Road to Humanity. In every episode, I tell you powerful true stories filled with great wisdom that you can use in your own life as you strive for a higher road to travel. My featured guests will have their own unique stories to tell that enlighten your mind and your soul. So kick back, relax, and learn the secret to success when you take the high road.
First touch, strong connection, it lays deep in your soul.
Hi, this is Nancy Yearout, and welcome to High Road to Humanity. And I have a harpist here with me today. Peter Sterling is here, and welcome, Peter, to High Road to Humanity.
Thank you, Nancy. It's so good to be here with you and your angelic star tribe.
Yeah, it's good that you're here. Now, you guys, I want you to sit back and relax. And let me give you, obviously, you can see the harps behind Peter today, but I'm going to give you a little feel of what he's all about. He's one of the world premier harpists in the genre of new age and contemporary instrumental music. He's been doing this for 28 years, you guys, and he has several #1 records on the international radio charts. He was a bronze and silver medal winner in the prestigious Global Music Awards, and he won the New Age Ambient Song of the Year in the 2017 Hollywood Music and Media Awards. So he's also a visual artist working in stained glass and digital photography paintings, which he calls portals of light. So I'll have to ask him about that. So this is perfect. I'm glad you're here for Christmas. Merry Christmas to everybody.
Hey, happy holidays to you as well,
Yeah. And
everybody.
you guys, before we get into it with Peter, and this is a show y'all are going to want to share because he's going to play the harp for us. And it's very healing. But I did download a message from Gabriel, Archangel Gabriel, this morning, and I want to read it to you guys because it's really important that you guys hear what Gabriel has to say for humanity. So here's what he says. So sit back and relax for a moment. He says, Dear Nancy, and it's December 9th, by the way, 2022. He said, my message today is a global one for all to hear. He says that the tension in the Middle East is growing and things seem to be heating up. People are not paying attention and are focusing on other events. We in the angelic realm are surrounding the situation now to bring a peaceful solution for all involved. The unrest is the negative energy that has almost become a large ball of destruction, he says. The negativity is being transmuted to light as quickly as possible, but it continues to come. He said, now is the time for all of humanity to come to realize what is important in your world and to come from a place of peace and compassion for each other. Remember, we are all one. We are all connected. We are all connected and we are all come from God and a God source energy, which is pure love. Our goal is to assist humankind in bringing the love and compassion to the forefront, to make love the #1 vibration on earth. That's what he told me today. So there you have it. He just wants you guys to know there's a lot of stuff going on, but we have to remain, strong and centered and connected to God. And so I wanted to say that, especially this time of year, we need to really connect with each other, with your fellow man. So having said that, Peter, I really want to hear your story. I know you connected with the angels. Tell me your story. I mean, what happened? How did you start connecting with the angelic realm? That's what I want to know.
Mm. Well, in my book, Hearing the Angels Sing, I kind of tell my life story. It started with I had an early childhood experience in the church that I write about on an Easter Sunday, where my mother took me into the church for the Sunday service, and I was captivated by the stained glass windows, and there was like a beam of lights coming down through these stained glass windows, colored light coming into the sanctuary of the church, and I was just captivated by this color, these beams of colored light shining in. And I had an experience where I was like, I projected up and out the beams of light through the stained glass window. I had kind of like this illumination. I was about 6 years old. I came, I had this vision then. I didn't necessarily see angels, but I felt something. And then I came back into kind of to my awareness of the moment. And I told my mother in that moment I wanted to be a stained glass window maker when I grow up, which I ended up doing. And it's all in the book. But then later on, it was when I came to Sedona in the late 80s. It was right after the harmonic convergence of 1987, which was the Mayan calendar last 25 years cycle, beginning of the last 25-year cycle of the Mayan calendar. And I came right after that here. And I'd heard rumors of this vortex and power spot in Arizona that everybody started to talk about around this time. And this was for the internet. So, but I started hearing these stories of these powerful energy vortexes and red rock formations, and something was calling me here. So I came through divine circumstance. I was led here, and immediately I was just captivated and by the beauty of the landscape here, but also the energy. There was this palpable energy I could feel, and as soon as I drove down Oak Creek Canyon for the first time, which I know you're going to be seeing perhaps for the first time yourself, hopefully soon, I had to pull over, and I was just like, tears came to my eyes, and it was just so beautiful. And I heard deep inside home, this feeling of home. I was like, wow. And I came into town, I met the most remarkable, amazing people. But after I was here for a short time, I received the message that I should let go of all my material possessions and acquire a Volkswagen camper van, because I was going to be led on a spiritual journey to discover my life's work, my mission, who I am and why I am here. And I was like, wow, so I just followed my inner guidance, and I did that. I got a Volkswagen van, and that allowed me to sleep every night out on the land. Just back in those days, you could park anywhere around Sedona here. And it was really a magical time. But that time ended up for 3 years. I lived in my car, but it allowed me to immerse myself here in the nature, in this beautiful nature environment. And my experience was that there was the most profound tranquility and stillness and silence in these ancient canyons that have, ancient Native American Indian ruins all in the canyon walls and cliffs that you can hike up and explore. And there's so much ancient memory here. Yeah. So I was just sitting in silence and just what I call listening to silence. That's how I was guided. And I went into like several kind of a profound state of awareness that the only thing what I would compare it to would be what's described as a samadhi in the yoga tradition. There's different levels of samadhi that you can go through in your meditation. So I was going up into these really sublime kind of samadhi states. And then all of a sudden, as I was sitting in stillness, I started to hear music. And at first it was faint, but I heard it, and then I tuned into it, and the louder it became. And it was a sound, Nancy, that I'd never heard before. And it was the most beautiful sound. And it was the angelic choirs. It was this symphonic, grand music that the harmonic quality and the purity of the sound was like nothing I had ever experienced. At first I thought maybe somebody was out in the forest playing some classical music on a portable stereo that was being carried in the wind from far away. But no, I realized this was something of a divine origin. And it seemed to me, Nancy, that everything was in harmony with this sound, like the rustling of the leaves in the trees, the bird song, the little trickling of the stream. All the sounds of nature were in perfect harmony with this glorious sound. And it struck me at such a deep chord that my body began to tremble and shake, and tears spontaneously would flow from my eyes. And then my inner guidance was, let the music, let the sound take you away, take you on a journey. Because, see, I was aware of many of the mystics and saints who had spoken of the inner sound, the inner light, or the inner music through many different mystic traditions from all over the world. And so I had that awareness, but all of a sudden I was having my own direct experience with it. And and so my inner voice was, or I could hear my guides or the angels who I didn't know yet were whispering, communicating to me. And they were saying, the one thing they said to me over and over was trust, surrender, and let go, and allow the music to take you on a journey. So that's what I did. And I had this very kind of strong, energetic experience where I just floated right out of my body, because I had been experimenting with different kind of astral projection and different things, remote viewing and different things. So, but all of a sudden, it was just so easy because the sound, the frequency of the sound was the vehicle. And when I came into resonance with it and connected with it, it just naturally wanted to lift me up, basically. And so as I'm sitting there in the canyons, you have to imagine me, nobody around, in the
Right.
middle of nowhere in nature. And I'm having this series of mystical experiences with this as my meditations were really opening up. My third eye was opening and my crown chakra was opening. So I was really doing a lot of work with my chakras, and my crown chakra open, and I could just go right out the top of my head. I just floated right up a central pillar of light, and I was taken up where I was just being bathed in golden light. And I was hearing this glorious sound of the angelic choirs.
You weren't afraid?
Uh, I wouldn't say afraid, because no, I wasn't at this point. I had prepared a lot, for this moment. I had to do a lot of work on myself. I had to do a lot of healing work, a lot of clearing on my nervous system, a lot of refinement of my nervous system and strengthening of it through different spiritual practices that I have been doing leading up to this moment. So when it actually occurred, and the feeling that I was feeling when I'm hearing this glorious sound was just pure love. It was divine love. It was just pure divinity. The feeling was one of extreme bliss and ecstasy, like a rapturous experience of being raptured in the light, taken up into the heavenly realms and connecting with that angelic light. It was like the Christos, the Christ light, right?
Mhm.
And so this is what I prepared my whole life for this moment. I had a lot of help around me on the inner with my guides and different things, and the angels around me. So I was taken up into the light, and there's that saying, silence is golden. So
Yes.
I was just sitting in this supreme silence out in the canyons here, and all this golden light came over me. I ascended up into the golden light, and I was just vibing in this incredible bliss, ecstasy energy. And I could see in my inner vision, I could see there were some forms around me moving. And I'm like, okay, I sensed there was something around me. And I could feel my higher self or my guides were kind of coaching me how to look, how to focus. And all of a sudden, it just opened up three-dimensionally, holographically. And all of a sudden, I was in like a virtual reality type of environment where I was surrounded by a group of angels. And it was a whole flock of them.
But
And they were, what did they look like? Yeah, they were the cherubs, the little chubby baby ones. And they were playing harps and flutes
okay.
and like violins, just like we see painted in the classical Renaissance art by Michelangelo and Leonardo and all the great artists who were also inspired by them, which I found out. But there they were in front of me, and I was like, oh my God, they're real. They're
Yeah.
real. Like I couldn't believe it. And that moment was it was kind of like a come to Jesus moment. Like when I realized at that moment that the angels are real, it was such a huge reality shift for me at that point. But then as I was seeing them, all of a sudden I could hear them in my mind, and I could hear them speaking, and they were flying all around me, and they were talking amongst themselves. because I was like up in their realm, and they're looking at me and like, look at this guy, like, look at him, look at him. Think he could see us? I don't know. Do you think he can see us? I don't know. And I could hear this in my mind. So I spoke back to them mentally in telepathy. I said, I can hear you. Can you hear me? And they said, yeah, we can hear you. Can you hear us? And I said, yeah, I can hear you. Can you see us? And I said, yeah, I can see you. Can you see me? And they said, yeah, we. And as soon as we realized we had this connection where we could hear and see each other, they got very excited about that. And apparently this is something that doesn't happen very often, is when the angels make a direct connection of this sort, a direct telepathic connection, clairvoyant connection with a human mortal to this extent. So anyway, that was the start of it. And they took me on many magical journeys. I had a set of experiences that I write about in my book, and but ultimately, what they revealed to me is, and they came to me as messengers, classic, as angels as messengers. They told me my life's mission was to play the harp and to channel the angels' music, the celestial music, the heavenly harmonics, and on the harp, and to bring through a special music at this time for humanity, as we are at the dawning of the golden age, the long prophesied golden age, and the ascension. I was like, whoa. I was in my early 30s, and I hadn't really played music very much.
I was going to ask you that. Have you ever played the piano or guitar?
I played piano by ear as a young boy for a bit, and I tried guitar a little bit, and I tried this and that. Leading up to this point, I was playing my Native American flute that I would carry with me when I would hike into the canyons, because I would hike up on these ridges and play a song for the ancestor spirits there, because I was in communion with them too, and they were teaching me, sharing their wisdom with me, and so, but then the angels came and they said, you're to play the harp. And I was like, wow, are you sure? I couldn't believe, at first I wasn't, I thought maybe I was imagining this whole thing.
Right.
So otherworldly. And I, at the time, I was doing a lot of deep shamanic work, a lot of soul travel, experimenting with all sorts of like psychedelics, and to explore my consciousness. And that's all in great detail in my book, all the different things I did.
And let me stop you a second. You guys, I don't have a copy of his book here today, but the name of it is, tell us.
Hearing the Angels Sing.
Hearing the Angels Sing. And you guys can pick up a copy. And I want to mention that I usually have the book here. He's going to have to send me a copy so I can read it.
Well, you're going to have to come get one. I'll give it to you in person and sign it for you.
Yeah, I'm going to come down and visit. I'm going to come see, because apparently he knows who I am. So that's nice. Anybody who can see my wings gets to hang out with me. All right. So I want to know, so here you are, the cherubs are talking to you and they say, okay, we want you to play the harp. So what do? Do you just a harp is like, here you are in your car, right? In this van. So what do? Do you okay, do I go back to reality and buy a harp, or how does this work?
Well, yeah, once I said that I would do it.
You said okay.
Yeah, once I gave the angels the go ahead and said that I agreed to work with them and to join with them on this mission. And then magic really started to happen. Within a few days, I met a woman in Sedona town here who I had heard was a harpist, and we met at the health food store. And I introduced myself. I said, I'm feeling drawn to the harp.
Okay.
And she says, well, I actually have a small lap harp for sale at my house. Why don't you come over and try it? And when she said that, I could hear the angels going, oh, oh, and this was the major connection.
I love
it. This is all in the book. And so I went to her house, and yeah, I tried this little harp, and I could hear the angels singing around me. So I bought it for like $300. It had a little carrying case. I could sling it over my shoulders, and I would just hike out into the forest. I brought it back to my van and would hike out in the forest, take it with me, and find a special place where nobody was around in the forest. And I would just take out my magic harp, and I would just start strumming it like this. And then sometimes the wind would pick up and the wind would vibrate the strings and the sound would come out of it being played by the wind. It was so magical. It's called the wind harp. And so I was just enchanted by it. And so I just started doing like this. And then all of a sudden, I could hear the angels just telling me, trust, surrender, and let go. And as I just relaxed into it, I could feel this energy came over me. And then my hands just started to move by themselves. And as I'm watching this and experiencing this, they're just profusely coming. I'm crying. It just my vibrating so high with this energy that's I'm connecting with, that my eyes are tearing profusely. Sweat starts to come down my forehead under my armpits like Niagara Falls, and my hands are trembling like this. It was really intense. Like, this is why
Energy. Let me stop you a second, because they're running that energy down through you, through your hands, so that you learn. I
right.
think it's amazing. I think it's
Yeah.
phenomenal. I
Yeah,
really
it was really a powerful experience. That's why I said I had to do a lot of preparatory work for this to be
sure.
ready for that, because I was really plugging in with a very high frequency, high dimensional energy with these angelic beings.
Right.
And so, as I got more comfortable with it, I would go into kind of a trance. And I later learned there was one angel in particular, like a feminine, more feminine type of angel that would hover over me and send me kind of psychic impulses that I was channeling through my nervous system. And as I got more comfortable, as I kept saying, trust, surrender, and let go, it seemed like this angel would like completely kind of come into my body almost, and
Right.
was moving my hands on the strings. It was so otherworldly, but that's how it all started. And 10 months later, without any formal lessons, I made my first recording, guided by the angels from start to finish. And when it was done, I had a little cassette tape, because you have to remember this was like 1993, before CDs.
Okay.
And I had this, or just right at the start of CDs, but I had a little cassette tape. I called it Harp Magic. And I made 50 copies, and I started giving it out to people around Sedona town here and to some of the metaphysical bookstores, and they really liked it. They're like, we want to sell it. And it started happening. Like, I gave them the tapes, they sold, they were playing it in the store, and just really this whole magical thing started happening. And so I asked the angels, I said, hey, uh, if you want your music to go out to the world, as they showed me that it was meant to, that I asked them for some help, because I really knew nothing about the music industry or how to market or promote or sell music. And so I just said a prayer, asked for what I needed. And about a week later, the phone rang where I was staying. And it was some record company executives who were on a holiday in Sedona. And they went into one of the bookstores, and they happened to be playing my music on the stereo.
All
And
right.
they were actually looking for a harpist for their record label. They had an instrumental music record label. So they got my number and they called me up and they said, we heard your music. What's your story? And I told them the whole story of how the angels, and they said, well, we love your music. We're here to help you bring it out to the world. And they offered me a 5-album record deal right on the phone with worldwide distribution. It was just so amazing, because I had just asked the angels like a week prior to send me some help. And then my phone rings and it's some record company executive saying, we're here to help. Like, this was like a Cinderella story. It always amazed me from the very beginning how the angels work, how they can create these divine synchronicities and magical synchronicities to assist us, you
Well,
know.
comfort. I just want to, it's funny why you're saying this. I was sitting in a hotel, I'm moving, and I was sitting in a hotel a couple days ago, and I'm like, I'm not sure where I'm going to go. And I looked out the window of the hotel, and there was a car with a bumper sticker, and it said, "Angels are watching over you right now and guiding you." Are
There
you
they are.
right
I
now,
know.
guys? So
That's
it's exactly what you say. When you start working with the angelic realm, they have a way of communicating. And as long as you pay attention to the
that's
sign,
right.
you know what I mean? Then
Absolutely.
right. Listen, I listened to some of your stuff yesterday, and it's just amazing. He's going to play for us. Now, I don't know, can I make a request? Am I allowed to?
Absolutely.
Well, I really like Child of Light.
Oh, you would. That is a hard song to play on the harp. I can't. That was a pure channeling, that one. And it was like, I have,
It
because that Child of Light song, which plays on Sirius satellite radio regularly.
Oh, funny I would pick this out, right?
Yeah, there was this unusual chord thing that I did during the recording session that I had never done, and I have not been able to repeat it since. It was one of those things. Was there another song you liked too? Did you hear anything else?
Seriously? Okay. Well, I liked Clouds and Sky and Calling Angels.
Yeah, I can play a little bit of like Clouds and Sky for you, that type, that stuff. And I always kind of play, I never play it like it is on the record because every time I play it, it's always different, you know? And, but I love to, in this moment, since we're talking about the angels, I could hear and feel them like, come on, let us play, let us play. So I'm just gonna, I'll play in that mode of Clouds and Sky of that theme, but I'm just gonna let the angels play through for us right now too, okay?
All right. Yes.
All right, let's try.
You guys, this is healing for everybody. So make sure you share this show so that people can be healed by this.
Let me see here.
Thank you, Peter. I
Oh,
appreciate
my pleasure. I love to play for people.
Peter. I start to cry. Why do I start to cry? Beautiful. Thank you.
It's a very common response with my playing from people.
Yeah. I was trying not to cry, but it's hard not to. Makes
It's beautiful. It shows how sensitive you are. So I appreciate that.
it's beautiful. Thank you. What do you want to play for us today? Is there a Christmas song or
Oh,
something
you want some
special?
Christmas? Okay. I'll play a
Yeah.
little Christmas. Let me see.
Okay.
A little joy to the world. I haven't played it. That's the first time I played it since last year. So,
Sounds really good. I want to ask you a couple questions as far as the healing abilities of the harp. And, what have, they wanted you to play the harp. And I picked this up intuitively, but I want you to talk about it. I pick it up that they wanted you to play the harp to heal. And I mean, it was healing to me right there because we are energy, we are made up of energy. And so when you play this, I mean, it seems like it balances people. Talk about, that type of thing with it. Because that's really the motivation here behind it, right?
right. Well, I mean, as you just experienced it and you felt that emotion come up, that the harp has this very unique quality to its sound that's unlike any other instrument. It's the harmonic structure of the sound. It's the way it's the design. You can see these graceful lines that are like wings. The top of the harp, those beautiful curve at the top of the harp, that's called the harmonic curve. And and so there's a way that the harp creates this harmonic tone that is so pure, and the overtones, the harmonic overtones, you can get many layers of harmonic overtones with this instrument. So that's why the harp has been found to be a sacred instrument throughout ancient antiquity. Many cultures all over the world had the harp. We have unearthed harps in ancient Sumeria, from ancient Sumeria, that were 5,000 years old and played in the royal courts of the kings and queens. Uh, when I went to Egypt, I saw firsthand the inscriptions on the temple walls of the harp player, of the harp. So the harp was held in the highest of esteem in ancient Egypt and was played in the healing temples there, as well as in Greece and Mesopotamia, all through Latin America, all through Israel. The harp was a very common instrument during the time of Jesus 2,000 years ago. And even King Saul played the lyre harp, or David did. King David played the harp. At first, as a young boy, he played the lyre harp, and he played it in the royal palace for King Saul because Saul was suffering from, he had some mental emotional issues. But when David would play his harp, it would soothe him. But what happened was everybody fell in love with David because he was a handsome guy playing this harp, and the sound was so beautiful, and he would sing. He would just go into rapture, and that's how he composed the Psalms, was playing the lyre harp and singing. That's where the Psalms of the Old Testament come from. But then, Saul banished him to the desert, that whole story. But then when he came back and became king, he played the larger harp for 40 years as king. He played the harp for the people in the kingdom. And it is attested the power of his harp helped for those 40 years to have great peace and prosperity during that time. I don't think there were any major wars during that time. It was great prosperity and peace because King David played the harp, So it's very interesting instrument. Of course, Merlin the magician had a harp.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of myth and lore about the magical harps and stories from all over, especially in the Celtic mythology, right? Of which I'm connected to. So
Me too. I'm a Scot. Are you a Scot?
I'm an Irish. I'm half Irish, Scots Irish. Yeah.
That's what I am. Scotch Irish too.
Sterling. It's
Yeah.
my last name. It's Scotch Irish. Yeah.
What is it?
Sterling, my last name.
Scotch Irish. Yeah, because
Yeah.
when I went to Scotland, there is a place called Stirling.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so maybe that's where
Right.
you're.
That's funny. You are the second person to say that to me in 24 hours. Because I
Well,
was talking to somebody else yesterday,
uh-huh.
and they were telling me that, oh, it was last night at the checkout at the pet store. I was getting cat food, and the checkout, she mentioned my name. She said, I have the same last name, except hers is spelled with an I, mine with an E.
All right.
And she said, oh, well, I'm from the Stirling clan of Scotland. And I said, oh, I didn't know much about it. And she said, yeah, and my son even went to Stirling Castle.
Yes, me too. I've been to Stirling Castle.
Oh,
Well,
wow. And so when I came home last night, I Googled it
yeah.
and I looked at Stirling Castle, and now you're saying it again. So, wow, I guess I need to go there, or maybe I am connected to this Stirling Castle. I don't know.
Well, when I went over there years ago, tried to find my roots, I went to the Highlands of Scotland, and I found the Donaghy Museum, which is a derivative of McConaughey. And so I wanted to see, and it's just magical there. It's just,
Mm,
have you been? It's just
I have
magic.
not.
Oh, well, you would just, it's magical. It
I have
just,
family there. I have family in Ireland. I have cousins there,
oh
actually.
my gosh, you should go. Well, Scotland is I've been to both, and I will tell you, but Scotland just really held my heart. And Stirling Castle is absolutely beautiful. And you can tour it, and there's so much, I mean, to see. So yeah, you should probably go. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for that confirmation.
Listen, I want to talk to you a little bit before we get out of here. You talk about the vortexes and the portals and the healing of the music, but I want to know the differences. You say there's vortexes, there's portals, there's
Mhm.
stargates. What's the difference?
Hmm. Yeah, they're all, I guess, a little different. And I was just noticing behind you, it looks like you have a portrait of Geronimo
I do.
on the wall. So Geronimo was a Yavapai Apache who lived in this area, and he actually came up to Sedona. He liked it up here too. I have a place I take my clients on the land, a portal. It's called I call it Geronimo Rock, and it's a cool
Okay.
place. But well, okay. So what is the difference between stargates and portal? Okay, so
Vortexes,
let's.
yeah, because like, okay, let me just back up real.
Okay.
So I'm going to tell you this because I want to understand personally, and I want the audience to understand. Now, I've been in California where I have stood in Laguna Beach, and there is a sign that was actually put there by the nations, I want to just say,
First Nation people.
yeah, well, it just says that there is a portal here, and this is a portal, and there's a sign that welcomes people into the portal from other places. So
Hmm,
it's
interesting.
clearly marked right there on the street, and there's a portal. And it's interesting because it's marked by the United Nations.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that was my first time of ever realizing that there are portals that the United Nations have marked in the United States, and
Hmm.
I've stood in one. Now I've been to Sedona, and I've been up to, where they have all the, more of the holy, I can't think of what it's called, where you walk around the circle or whatever it is,
The
around
medicine wheel. Oh, up by the stupa.
the stupa.
Okay.
Now
Right.
that's a little different. What is that? Is that a portal, or is that,
I would say that's more of a,
you see what I mean?
well, yeah, first of all, back to Laguna Beach. That's where I grew up. And what's interesting about that is that in Laguna Beach used to be the hangout in the 60s and 70s. The Sunshine family lived there, and that was the group that created the Orange Sunshine LSD, the chemist guy. There's a documentary now about this on Netflix or Hulu. I think it's called The Sunshine Brothers. I highly recommend you see it. It's the whole story of LSD, and it's got archival footage of them in their labs making it, and their whole vision of spreading this all over the world to try to save humanity, because this was something that was given to us. So that's where that was birthed, right there in Laguna Canyon, right there. So I've always known that to be a vortex, and it was special to Native peoples as well. But what's going on here in Sedona, what's interesting is that this has been held a sacred landscape for thousands of years by Native peoples. We have rock art here, that petroglyphs and pictographs that have been dated to 12,000 years old. So there's a long history of people coming here. And what's interesting about that too is that the U.S. Geological Survey has surveyed all of North America, measuring the Earth's magnetic field with aircraft flying at low altitudes with a magnetometer. So you can go on the website usgs.gov and look at the magnetic field lines of North America, the maps, and you will find that now generally the magnetic field is relatively constant, but there are areas where there's spikes and dips in the magnetic field. These are called magnetic anomalies or unusual magnetic fields. And we often find these on sacred sites and vortex points. It turns out that the Sedona area here has the highest concentration of unusual magnetic fields, magnetic anomalies in all of North America are found right here in Sedona. Yeah, so there is science to verify that there is something going on here. And these vortexes are created by these deep underground, like we have layers of quartz crystal, all
Right.
sorts of rare earth minerals. We have a lot of copper here and gold and silver. Everything is here. So it's plus water right under Sedona is a aquifer. It's only like 500 feet down, is the largest underground aquifer in all of the Southwest United States, flows directly under us. So, we have a lot of water, which is a conductor, copper is a conductor, plus the iron in the rock. The red rocks are red because of oxidized iron. So and iron is electromagnetic, and we have iron in every cell in our body, in our blood. So there's this strong energetic connection that can occur here. And the work I do here as a guide, my tour business is called Sedona Sacred Land Journeys, and that's on my website too under Sedona Tours. But that's my work here, is I take people out onto the land into some of these remote areas that I go, and they have an experience. I work with my angels and guides and theirs, and together I share the beauty and the magic and the wonder of this ancient landscape and bring them into that presence of what I experience, what I feel, and I share that with them so they can feel that too. And I do the wind harp, and I have crystal bowls and special things that I do. It's a really unique experience. So the canyons here, these are known as vortexes. The vortexes are coming from earth energy. There's spiraling earth energies that are being sucked down. Either they're magnetic or they're electric. So they either project outward or they draw you inward through magnetics. So these are vortexes. Now, portals, Stargate portals, I think you need to go through the vortex first. You got to go into the vortex.
Right.
Then you can travel with your non-local consciousness or your astral body beyond time and space, and then you can access the stargates. Stargates aren't necessarily right here in this dimension. You actually have to kind of get out of this dimension first to access the stargates.
Okay.
Through utilizing vortexes and power spots, like on the earth, there's like Egypt, Machu Picchu, all the stone circles of the British Isles, sacred sites all over the world where there's power spots. So you go to these places, and these are access points where you can access these multidimensional energies quite easily, and then you can travel and you can go places.
Right. Listen, we got to get out of here in a few minutes, but I want to ask, I guess my big question for you is, what have the angels asked you, or I guess what's coming for humanity? What's your message? What's the message? I gave Gabriel's message when we first started the show. What is the message that the angels have asked for you to give to humanity right now?
Nancy, the message I get as far as the future, and it's always been this way, is the angels have always guided us to not lose hope, to have faith, and to believe in miracles, and to believe in supernatural powers of good, of the light. Because now it seems like this dimension, as you were saying earlier, with some of the atrocities and horrors and negativity and unpleasant things we see in our reality now with humanity, it can get overwhelming for people. And people are having a hard time and are struggling with the nature of our dimension right now, because it's been so fractured and we don't know even what the truth is anymore. Everything's fake, and you don't know who to believe and what's really happening, on so many levels. So there is divine guidance. So the angels have always been to connect. The angels are here to help us get connected with our divine guidance, with the source light of divinity. They're not the ends. They're just messengers. They're pointing the way, and we can connect with this higher power that when we can receive our divine guidance is so important right now to help us to navigate through these turbulent, troubling times
Yes.
we're living in. We really need this empowering system of divine guidance that God gave us. It's part of our components. We already have it hardwired into our system. You just have to
You gotta
open your heart. You got to tap in. You got to ask. You have to be humble, and you have to humble yourself and ask for this higher power. You have to merge. There has to be union with this divinity within yourself, as above, so below. And then when you do that, your life moves in a different direction.
Yes.
And that way you're lifted out and a state of grace can come upon you. And you've exercised yourself out of the 3D matrix of polarity and duality and chaos and all of that. And now you're kind of flying above it all with your angel wings.
I know.
You're seeing it clearly. You're connecting with the light. And I think this is what the angels have always guided me and directed me. And it's always been my mission to share that vision with people for the last 30 years or so.
Very well said. Very well said. I teach the audience to bring in the light. I always say the light of God. And I teach them also to bring up the light from Mother Earth. And as you said, as above, so below. And what it does, I agree with you wholeheartedly. It balances you, and you can watch all the craziness going on in the world, but you can be an observer and stay centered. And it's healing as well, to connect with that light. That's what heals us and keeps us, balanced. I'm so glad that you said that. What's your next project? What do you got coming up?
Oh man, I got a lot of good stuff happening. I'm just getting ready to release my 17th album.
All right.
And got a lot of collaborative projects musically this in 2023. Super excited about that. And
How
it's
can
just
people find you? Just give out your website.
come see me at harpmagic.com, harpmagic.com.
Okay,
Harp
fantastic.
Magic.
Peter, thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
It's been
So
a
good to be here with you.
pleasure. Thanks for coming on the show today. Hey, you guys, we got to get out of here for today. This is Nancy You're Out. This is High Road to Humanity. If you want an angel reading, go to my website, nancyyou'reout.com, and you can book your date and time. And make sure you share this show because it's a wonderful one for Christmas. Everybody have a happy holiday and a very Merry Christmas. Take care. Please join me next time on the High Road with stories full of love and hope for our future. You can find High Road to Humanity on TogiNet Radio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and now watch the High Road on Binge TV networks. My channel is High Road to Humanity. Have a blessed week, and know by staying on the High Road, you will make it to your destination. For a psychic empath reading, visit my website, nancyyou'reout.com, to book your date and time with me. I will deliver your messages from the angels. And God bless.